Hi everyone, I'm Kavita Singh, co-founder of Identity1st, a trusting sounding board for security leaders across the globe. We welcome you to our Leader Speak show. Today we have with us Mr. Vikas Goyal, Vice President IT Security, FIS Global, a leader in technology and services that helps businesses and communities to thrive and advance in their financial development. Welcome Vikas to our show. And we are honored to have you on this show.
Thank you so much, Kavita, for the candid introduction.
You're welcome. Because first of all, I just wanted to understand, maybe it's a little, we just went on your LinkedIn profile and we saw Vikas Goyal 2.0. So any particular reason this 2.0 element has been added to your name?
So the reason, Kavita, I have added 2.0 is that I believe that particular skills of an individual can take them to a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
However, to go from that level to above or beyond from that particular place, one has to do changes, one has to learn. Mm-hmm. And these are exactly the transformations that I am doing into myself. And now that I have adopted some of those things, I have I've started to call myself on LinkedIn as 2.0. So as and when I'll actually be progressing, I'll be making them as 2.1, 2.2. It's basically my learning, like you get the updates in your phone.
Right.
We all have to update us.
Absolutely.
So I am updating myself with in terms of the knowledge, the content that I consume, the way I used to do the things earlier, and the way I look towards life. So that is the reason why 2.0.
Very interesting, very interesting. That's why I was you were very intrigued to know that. So let's start with the interview. So first question that we have is, in the current scenario, do organizations treat cybersecurity as business or IT responsibility?
See, I would say it has to be an organizational responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
The very reason why cybersecurity does not happen appropriately in organizations is because everyone is trying to, push the monkey on someone else's shoulder.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Security team is providing the knowledge and the guidance of doing the things, right? However, businesses or the business teams are the one who are the first line of defense in any organization. As a cybersecurity team, I may tell that, or I may have a tool wherein I can stop phishing. But if the business does not understand that they do not have to click on every link that they receive, what would I, as a cybersecurity professional, do, or any cybersecurity professional will be able to do? We will be all bombarded with links and emails that would have multiple links. So it has to be a joint responsibility. The day when the cyber teams and the businesses would be able to understand that it is a collaborative effort is when we would be able to deal with security in a much more efficient way. Otherwise, we'll just keep on asking the same question in the boardrooms of whose responsibility is it. It is a joint responsibility.
It's always a blame game kind of stuff, right?
It should not be a blame game. Yeah. Absolutely.
So coming to our next question, the fintech cloud market is estimated to grow at a CAGR or a compound annual growth rate of 16.4%, right? From 2022 to 2031. Transferring data in the cloud comes with security challenges such as data breaches and unauthorized access. So how can fintechs protect their cloud environment in these threats? And what have been the best practices right now?
See, cloud requirements and the need of moving onto the cloud is going to continuously increase because we are not in those times wherein we can predict how much growth would a bank have or how much growth would a customer have, and the scalability and the speed of scalability is very high. Today, a customer who may have only say 2,000 customers, right, may have 20,000 customers probably due to some festivities. Take an example of Zoom, like the channel that we're using right now. How many people were using Zoom? It was just an odd tool available for people who just want to use something for free to do the calls, right? Otherwise, organizations always had Microsoft programs or other things working on. So the need of the continuous increase, and it is not even continuous, it could be a drastic increase. That is the reason why cloud is certainly required, and the associated challenges with managing the cloud are also increasing. I would say it is not the challenge in managing the cloud, it is the availability or the non-availability of the people who can do the right things is what is causing the issue. So let's take an example of a car manufacturer. The manufacturing plant may keep on manufacturing the cars and people would continuously buy it. However, the challenge comes when the car breaks down, right? And for that, you do not need, or you would not be able to access the company immediately. If your car has broken down on a highway, you need someone who can fix it then and there. This is exactly what we need in the cybersecurity world also, by having the cloud of any particular company. That is great. But for an organization to have it run effectively with all the security things inbuilt into or built into the environment, we need to have more and more people who learn cloud security, and who understand those tools through which security is done on cloud. And then we would certainly be able to handle the increasing growth that is happening on the cloud. Because cloud market is increasing, but the speed at which the people are getting developed to take care of the migrations and post the migration, the support that is needed on the cloud, they are not increasing at that same pace.
It also brings to, you have brought a very pertinent point, saying that there is there's a deficit, or there's a shortage
of people.
Skilled cybersecurity. And
absolutely, because the skilled people are lesser, and everyone needs it, and everyone is trying to kind of claim those people who know a little bit about cloud security, and then those people are just hopping around. If the people do not stay in an organization for a very long time, how can you expect them to do security for you?
Right.
You're just getting people. They stay in your environment for 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, probably a year maximum, and then someone else poaches them, right, at a higher cost. Till when can we keep on working on this? So I would say, more than the technology, right now we have to focus on the people. How do we deliver these services?
And what do you see, like, where are the challenges? So are there not enough courses or enough places, avenues for them to get skilled, or that there's a lack of interest among the younger generation or the people, or lack of awareness when it comes to cybersecurity?
I would say a lot of awareness is already there. Everyone knows that I have to learn cloud. But what they end up learning on the cloud is usually the cloud implementation. Right? How do I move a particular server on the cloud? How do I create the infrastructure on the cloud? However, the cyber industry does not need only the people who have the knowledge of moving it to the cloud. They need the people who know how to secure the cloud. It is like, if you are in the army language, we do not need just the people who know how to manufacture a gun.
Right.
We need people who also know how to use the gun, and also the people who have the mastery of, we basically need these snipers who can kill the person in a single shot. Otherwise, if you and I will also hold the gun, we will fire, but we'll fire probably
aimlessly,
our own infrastructure.
Aimlessly,
and we may fire our own infrastructure. And that is exactly what happens. You are doing some testing on the environment, you know everything, but you're trying to tune in something, and that tuning in itself brings your infrastructure down, and then 2 days you take to repair that thing back, and then this becomes an incident in itself, wherein no one has done anything to you.
Right. So that's a bigger problem that we are also facing, right? That the industry should look at.
Creating people is one thing, and making them, training them appropriately, and then utilizing them in doing the right thing.
Right. That's very interesting. What is your take on the third-party partners? I think none of the companies today can stay away, or it's very difficult to, third-party vendors are a part of our system now. So how do you ensure that the third-party partners are securing your organization's most valuable information? And what will be the ideal way for organizations to ensure the same?
So, I have been into this space pretty much for good 20 years. And out of my 20 years of overall experience, good 16 years of my life I have spent with dealing with vendors. It is very simple to understand. But if I ask you a question today, Kavita, how many vendors do you deal with? How many can you name? Probably 4, 5?
5, right? Yes.
But the moment we'll drill down, you would realize for every single thing, you're dependent on a vendor. for your hair doing, for your clothes, for the AirPod that you're using, for the mobile that you're using, for the laptop that you're using, for the internet that we are using to do this, there is a vendor. A person who's going to deliver probably your lunch because you're occupied with this call would also be a vendor. And then it is not just one vendor, it's a mix of multiple vendors because food is being cooked by someone else. The vehicle that the vendor is using to deliver the food is someone else. And the person who has been actually coming to your place is being sourced by some other company, which is another vendor.
Right.
So we are all surrounded by the vendors in a similar way. When in the organization, we look at only one aspect of a vendor, it does not work. We have to go at the tiering of the vendor. Maybe someone may be providing me the services, but is that a vendor the only vendor who is providing me the services? Or is he taking services from someone else and he taking it from someone else? And the important thing over here is that in today's environment, while we are managing all the compliances,
right,
it may be very easy for big companies to just nail down on or just put down a vendor that they do not have the required compliance certificates and everything. However, as bigger organizations, it is responsibilities of the company to be able to guide, to train those vendors on what kind of certifications are required and how can they be better. The companies usually only take the benefit of the cost from the vendor, but does not invest into them for their learning, for them becoming a compliant vendor. And whenever this process of vendor risk management or third-party risk management comes in, the management will take a decision, we'll only go with the compliant vendors. And the compliant vendors are only charging you more money, where in turn, they are the one who have taken the contract and are on your impaneled list, but they are again taking services from someone else who does not have anything.
Right.
So that is where as a leader, one has to ensure of who is the actual one who is providing the services. We just don't have to look at the compliance part of it. We also have to look at it. Who is the end party who is providing the services, not the first party with whom I'm associated. So that has been my learning over the last many years that I have been dealing with third parties.
And how do you ensure that, like, considering now you understand this entire chain, that it's not the compliant vendor that we have to deal with, there is, a series of other vendors who are not compliant probably, whom, as an organization you have to deal with. So what is a measure or, what is your approach to ensure that,
So the approach that works usually is that when you are working with a vendor, you should also check with them of what are the sub-vendors of your first party and how will they be delivering the services? What are the vendors that they are using and do they have a similar program in their organization? If not, provide them with a questionnaire. Help them understand. In bigger organization, everyone has the questionnaire. You don't need to give your entire program to them, but whatever is relevant to a company, they should give those questions to the first party to go and ask them from their sub vendors and make them enable them to be able to get those details.
Great. Okay. So yeah, that can be a great way to.
So it becomes like a two-step process or a three-step process instead of just looking at the person whom you're dealing with.
Absolutely. And how often are executives in the board informed of the organization's cyber capability and any attacks or data breach risk, considering the scenario we are in and we are reading about it daily?
Had this been like a question been asked many years back, it would be like, oh, no one cares about it, they don't understand. And the CISO's responsibility is only to kind of take care of the infrastructure, but why to kind of bother people about something which they are not aware about? But in today's time, board has become intelligent. And I would say they have also become more aware. Because if there is a problem, say with your product, or some functionality of your product is not working, it is still fine. It is fixable. However, if there's a cyber security issue or a cyber threat, or if there is a ransomware found in your environment, then it is a reputational impact.
Right.
It would get published in the newspaper the next day. It would be in the news in another few hours that this is something which has happened with this XYZ company. So board these days has become really aware. I would say, if not even intelligent about the cybersecurity areas per se, but they are aware of what is happening around.
It's mandatory as well, right? Like it's kind of become an imperative also for the board to be aware, right?
Yeah, it has. See, imperative. It was there since the beginning of when it started off, right? But when it starts to impact the organization, that is where the board, the entire executive leadership gets more inclined towards checking about it, and it has become a very important critical part, which is being discussed in the board meetings, other than all the financial, HR, business, growth aspects of the organization.
It is a very important point now in the room, like a discussion point.
This absolutely. There is a slot given for it and it has to be there, so it will be discussed.
Okay. In a world where remote access has become inevitable, right? How do you balance remote access and security control? And how has a remote access changed the strategy around privileged access?
See, remote access today is inevitable. Right. Because there was a time when people used to come to the office and this was the only way of working. But today, everyone has realized that working from home is good in some ways, has its own challenges also. The security challenge that comes in working from home is that earlier people had the control, or the organizations had the control on the people, on what they are doing with the data, what all are they accessing. But in today's time, until and unless we have the controls available on the endpoint, the machine, the laptop, the desktop that has been allocated to the employees, and it does not identify of what the person is doing on their machine, it'll be very challenging. Because earlier the controls used to be on the network. Because the machine was in the office, it used to be a network level control, that the network is protecting everything. However, those network level controls are now being moved to the endpoint, which is the desktop and the laptop of an individual. So how do you ensure that people do not copy the data out of your machine, out of the laptop or desktop that has been given to them? They're not able to use any pen drive. In the office, people may not probably access a lot of sites which are usually blocked on the network, but when they are on their own home network, the access to internet is free. So if your device, your endpoint does not have the controls to block the access to those websites, then people may actually be using any particular website on your machine, and your endpoint, the machine that someone may have used to access a website which ideally they should not have, the viruses, the ransomwares may come in from there. And then certainly they'll be connecting into the network of the organization also through VPN, and that is how they would the virus or the ransomware or any malware would enter the network of the organization also. So making sure that the entry of any such thing is also blocked from the very beginning is what is very critical. And there are various tools available. There are XDRs available in the market to do that. There are we do not live anymore in the world of antiviruses. Some companies may still try and do that, but XDRs are required. One need to have the privileged access management tools, right? Identity, which are also called as identity and access management tools in today's time. So that is something which has to be implemented so that whatever people are accessing, they are authorized for it. That tool ensures. And the data prevention tools, the data leak prevention tools need to be implemented on the machine so that it cannot be copied through any medium, through the C-type port, from the USB 2.0 port, or from the LAN port that is available, and any which way. The CD drives and floppy drives are any which way gone from the machines these days.
Right. So that as you brought about the in identities point, my next question is all about identities. Where are the companies, in particular security teams, and how are they struggling with the topic of identity management? 80% of the breaches today, they say, is because of the identity challenges. So where are we? Where are the companies lagging when it comes to identity and access management?
So first of all, I would say identifying of what all does someone need an access to. Identification of that, the process of identification of that thing is most critical, because an individual may be working on a lot of areas. Now, if you define the access particularly basis only the group that they should be assigned to, so that they can only do a certain part of thing, then it hampers the growth of an individual. Right? Because the person who has more capability is able to do more work. And to do more work, he need more accesses in the organization. But if you're refraining them from accessing something, then you are not taking or deriving the absolute potential out of that person. Now, if you give access to everyone, because there cannot be a tool which kind of differentiate between them, then you are actually giving more accesses to people than they usually need. So identity and access management, there are tools available in the market which can be implemented, wherein identification of what is required, the alignment with what the work the person is doing, and if at all the work of a person changes, then their accesses also change accordingly, are monitored, and then the accesses are granted accordingly. So it is difficult than it's being said right now. It takes good amount of time for organizations to implement good identity and access management tools. There are big teams who does that, but having the team and tools available for a proper identity and access management is very critical.
According to Synapse survey, CISOs are under the pressure to consolidate the cybersecurity tech stacks and get more done with less budget and staff. 96% of CISOs plan to consolidate their security platforms, with 63% preferred extended detection response, that is XDR. What is your view?
I mean, everyone is struggling with the same thing. Right. The amount is reducing. The cost is increasing. The cost of security tools is increasing day by day. And the people who are working on this area are again becoming costlier and costlier. And the budgets are getting, shrunk. So it is certainly a challenge for any leader to operate and provide that kind of security to the organization. And that is where, again, I would go to the first question that you asked.
Right.
Is it the responsibility of security function or the business function?
Right.
It has to be a collaborative one. From somewhere, businesses will also have to help the security teams to fund what is required for them. Right? And if the country requires guns and ammunition, people may have to give their gold or metal to make the guns. If the population of the country would say, no, I wouldn't give anything, and the army should only die, that is not going to work. If the army needs something to protect the people, they will have to give it. In the similar way, if the businesses need to provide some funds to the functions to be able to get them the security or the level of security with which their products and tools can operate effectively, they would have to collaborate. Cutting down funds on CISOs functions or security functions is not going to be beneficial for anyone.
What experience do you have in managing and leading a cybersecurity team, Vikas?
I have been managing these teams from last 14, 15 years now. I started off with the information security. That is what I was working with. I was dealing with those kind of teams. I created those teams. And then when I joined my current organization, I started to build the process team first. And then I was given the opportunity to create a cybersecurity team. So I would say creating people is not difficult. The vision that you need to give to the people should be right. It is not that a job that they're working on. They should have a bigger intent of what they are securing. Until and unless they know what they are securing, it is very difficult for them to even think of an idea of how else they can do or how differently can they do things. So my experience is that enable people, give them that vision of what they are doing, and let them give the ideas. Never try and impose the process on people. Process is important, but do not kill the creativity of the people while they are being made to do certain things after the process. So it has worked good for me. I have a lot of people who have been with me in so many years, and my people have stayed with me. So that is what I would say. Give people the freedom to operate and give people the opportunity to learn. In their 30, 40 years of career, they cannot just work on one tool. They have to evolve. And as a leader, it is our responsibility to give them that opportunity during their routine work to learn a new thing, which might help them in like 4 to 5 years. And that is where you kind of, get your lead to do the next thing.
Right.
Or your people and people under you to do other things.
to motivate them and show them the larger picture, the bigger goal.
Absolutely.
So how would you build and motivate a high-performing cybersecurity team?
Okay. So for the time being, if we say that we'll just remove the cyber word out of it. And I have actually been in the beginning of my career, I was trained by the ex-army guys, right? The army person has a clear vision of what they are doing. And it may sound weird, but they are working for two things. One, they are trying to save their country. And the second thing is what they are trying to save, the fellow men that are along with them.
Right. Yeah.
When this thought is clear, then the decision making becomes much more easier. What do I need to do? I need to protect my men first, because if my men, the team, the platoon that would be there along with me, if they would be safe, is only when I will be able to save my country. In the similar way, now let's try do it for the cyber security. If I need to do the security of my organization in a better way, I need to have my platoon. I need to have my team intact. Someone who understands the nitty-gritties of my environment. Someone who understands my products. Someone who understands where all my products fail. What are the vulnerabilities in my product or my infrastructure or my environment? So to build and to build a high motivating team, we need to give this all to the people to show them of how critical they are to the environment, and they need to understand the environment first, right? And when they understand the environment, they would stick on for a very long time. They would automatically be motivated when they are given the opportunity to learn something new, when they are given the opportunity to try their minds onto a new technology, or in the same technology they are given more accesses to operate. Right? So it is not that difficult. I think this is what I've been doing all of these years.
Very interesting, and it's great to have to keep a cybersecurity team and be with them, because attrition is way too high in this sector, right, in this space. And still, if you're saying you're managing a bigger and larger team by motivating them and using all these interesting learn motivational skills, I think it's a very interesting, and that's why
the purpose of an individual should be clear. The purpose of an individual should be absolutely clear. When their purpose is clear, and when as a leader, while you are hiring those people, if you are able to identify what their purpose is, that is also more critical. Right? It is the responsibility of the leader of whom are they hiring. Are they trying to hire a person who can just fix their today's problem, or are you hiring a person who sticks on for a longer time? So the selection becomes very critical.
Now coming to my next question, how would you collaborate with other teams within the fintech company, such as IT, product, legal? So how does the entire seamless, so to speak, collaboration work?
So I'll take this question in two ways. One, collaboration of teams, organization-wise, and the collaboration with these teams for an individual, right? Within the organization, all of these teams, as I initially said, they all have to have a common vision of what they're working for. If IT is the team who is providing the infrastructure, and security is the team who is telling infrastructure team of what better they can do, how they can fine-tune the environment to make it more secure. Both of them need to kind of understand that it is not about finding someone else's fault. It is about making the organization strong. So it actually flows from top to bottom. The kind of culture that we would build in the organization, that is how it works. So between the bigger functions of the organization, the infrastructure team or the IT team per se and the security team, they all need to understand. If a security breach has happened, it does not mean that it was only the responsibility of the security team. The infrastructure is managed by you guys. And if the security team is telling something to the infrastructure team, does not mean that the infrastructure team did something bad. It is just that it is security team who has more knowledge on securing the environment, and they are giving you the inputs. So that those clashes, if they are not there, that really works well. And similarly with the product teams also, whenever you are trying to kind of tell the business product teams that this is another level of scanning that needs to happen to the code before it is moved to production. No, there will be production delays, there will be this, there will be that, we will be missing on the SLAs. Again, understand that. If someone is telling you, to learn driving properly before taking your car on the highway. It is for your benefit. Tomorrow when the accident will happen, whose fault will that be? The person who allowed you to do that, or the person who was driving?
Right.
When tomorrow a cyber threat will happen, whose responsibility would it be? The person who pushed the code into the production, or the security teams that approved in the jiffy of making that code run in the production?
So everybody has to understand that, like a shared responsibility kind of, right? Like,
absolutely. And legal, instead of just giving the ways of or the reasons of why things cannot happen, they also need to collaborate of what are the ways in which we can make it more fine-tuned to the organization. Like, they just cannot say no to everything. This is not allowed. This is not allowed as per the law. Everything is not allowed as per the law. But how can we make it work is something that we need to identify. So this is how, as an organization, we need to work. And coming down to the second part of it, as an individual,
yes,
do not worry. You have to get your work done. As an individual, if it is IT team, if it is security team, if it is product team, go and bang everyone's door and they'll help you. Take it, consider it as your own work. I mean, if you want something from, again, I'm trying to give an example, an analogy of it. If you need to go on a party, right, and your parents are not giving you the permission, you would not leave any stone unturned to make sure that you're able to attend that picnic for that matter, or a party for the elder one. You would try and use every method, right? In the similar way, when you're interacting with different teams, IT team may say this is not allowed, security team may say this is not allowed, product teams would give their own reasons, everyone would give their own reasons. But as an individual, one should always strive of how can we make this happen and what is it that the other team needs.
Right.
Because it is never a no from anyone. It is just that they need certain XYZ things for them to be able to go ahead. Try and find out who in the organization can provide that. And that really helps.
Okay.
Be a collaborator.
Yeah. I think that's
the very way of collaborating is to be a collaborator. You be the collaborator. You be the bridge between different teams.
What experience do you have with conducting security audits and assessments?
I would say personally doing it like with my own hands, close to 8 years is what I have done. 8 to 9 years is what I've done with my own hands and visited locations, traveled. Today my team does it. But to keep abreast with all the information, I always tell my team to keep bringing any challenges that they have in terms of the questions or the audit that they're doing. And I try and look into the audits that happen. So that keeps me aware about what is being happening. Also, I try and attend the training for the freshers that happen. I'll go and try and attend that for half an hour, 50, like whatever time I have. That gives me the opportunity to even understand how the trainers are training. It also gives me the opportunity to understand how the people who are new into the organization, how are they perceiving it.
Right.
And I always try and understand, just ask few questions from them to understand how much are they getting out of the training. So I would say one has to be in touch with whatever is happening in the organization. It is tough. It is time consuming. It takes a toll. But when it is about security, you have to be alert 24/7.
Right. Absolutely. So you cannot leave any stone unturned. That's nice. So coming to my last question, Vikas, the final question. What are your thoughts on the future of of cybersecurity? And considering the global downturn that the world is talking about, like people are talking about there, what is your view about it? Considering the specific sector that we talk about.
Absolutely. The future of cybersecurity is absolutely bright. The reason is the infrastructure is growing. The IT environment is growing. The reliance on technology is growing. Everything that we are doing today is on technology. And when there's technology, it has to be protected. And how do you do it? By having more and more cybersecurity people. The future of cybersecurity is great. There is, for next 10, 15 years, I don't see, in fact, for more than that, I don't see any downturn coming in over there in terms of the opportunities of job or the salaries or anything. But there are certain things that we'll have to take care of in terms of till when can we keep on increasing the cost of security? Because the first thing that anyone understands and learns in information security also the cost of control should not be more than the cost of the asset. Right? And that is where a critical point comes in. Is the cost of managing security becoming more than the cost of the asset itself? I mean, normally it does not in an environment, but if the overall cost is boosting up, growing up, there's a limit to which the companies would be able to give the hikes and the money. And that is where we all have to work together to make this future all the more brighter for many more people. And how do we do that? The person who is working on the process side, who has already been in the world of security, or say information security, and understands a little bit of technical stuff, can go and learn the cloud, can go and learn a little bit of AI, and learn machine learning, and can also learn Python. It is not difficult. I have myself taken Python courses, so it is not that difficult. It is just about the mindset that people need to change, that, oh, coding is difficult. Coding is not. Once you start coding, in fact, your life becomes easier. Small things you can code actually, right? And it helps you in doing your own automation. And automation is just a big word. It is just doing the coding in a particular way becomes automation. There are different tools for it that are being used in the industry. So the people who have already knowledge about IT can actually get into the better fields of IT. People who have been into different non-IT fields can also be brought into IT. Over the last many years, I have done that. People who are from the commerce background, people who are from the accounting background, the people who are from the BA background, even people who are like air hostesses, they're part of my team. And we have gradually moved them into the information security tools area. Because to run a hospital of say 2,000 beds, you do not need 2,000 doctors.
Right.
You need 20, 30 doctors. And rest of the people can do what it takes and gradually evolve. It takes 3 to 4 months to train a person on a particular skill, and let them do that. Let them evolve themselves into that particular thing, and gradually they can grow. Everything we do not probably need a person who has spent like 6-7 years into just doing this. We need them for very specific high-level roles.
Right.
For the operational part of it, people who have the basic operations activity can also do. I think that is where the mindset of the leaders also need to gradually change. That I just don't need always an MBA to do my SOC work or to do my ground level paperwork of auditing. It is not a rocket science. Even rocket science is not difficult. We are sending rockets to the moon. We are sending rockets everywhere.
Right.
Have a process in place which can work.
So it's the process that is more important rather than like the technicalities of having an engineer degree. So.
I mean, absolutely. I am not discounting on the knowledge of the people also. The people are important, but the personality and the kind of
intention,
the intent that the person has, and the kind of motivation that the person has for his career, that has to be identified.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Vikas. It was really a pleasure talking to you, and it was really very interesting, and a lot of good things we learned from this interview. And we hope to catch up with you again, and for some more interesting views like this. And thank you so much for being on Identity First.
Really appreciate Kavita. It was a nice discussion. It was a pretty candid discussion, and I really liked it. So thank you so much for giving this opportunity. Look forward to having more discussions with you in the future.